Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I'm here with Dr. Lisa Folden. I'm really excited about our guest today. Our guest today is Arielle Juliette. Welcome to the podcast, Arielle.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today. But before we get started with our big question, I'd love for you to let our listeners know who you are.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I would love to. So I own a dance studio called Dance Life in Madison, Wisconsin. We've been in business for 14 years, and we came online in the pandemic out of sheer need. And I started creating viral videos around dance and body liberation and fat liberation in particular, which is how Dr. Folden and I met. And that's what we've been doing ever since.
Love that.
It is such good stuff, y'all. Like, if you get nothing else from this episode, go and follow their page. It is beautiful. It's art. It's so liberating. You know, I share your stuff all the time. I'm like a super fan. So,
oh, right back at you.
Love it. Well, we'll jump right in. And we like to start the episodes these days with our big question in the beginning of the episode. So that way we can really get a chance to understand how people break beliefs and how they really impact their lives. So maybe you can let us know a belief that you once had that you no longer have that has impacted your life in a meaningful way.
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things, so I didn't mention belly dance is my main dance style. I also do burlesque, but belly dance has been the one that I've been doing for 20 years. And I believed that I needed to be thin in order to be seen doing that. And I needed to be thin in order to stay in my career. And it was something that led me down the path of an eating disorder. A question that people ask on my videos all the time is, how do you dance so much and not lose weight? And I have a podcast that I made back in 2013 where I asked that exact question. And in answering that question, I developed an eating disorder. And then in recovery, I had so many people who gave me that starry-eyed look of, how did you do it? How did you lose the weight? And what it came down to was, really disordered behavior, as a lot of people did, where it involved not listening to my body. So it took a lot of breaking down the belief that I needed to be thin in order to be seen, that I needed to be thin in order to be valid as an athlete and a dancer, that I needed to be thin in order to make money, that I needed to be thin in order to be loved, to be adored, to be treasured. And all of those things turned out to be very false.
That's beautiful. I'm so glad they turned out to be false, because I think some people never get to the other side of that because they're so scared.
Exactly.
To look like. So the fact that you were able to do it and that you get to be this example now of I'm successful, I'm happy, I'm very good at what I do. I found love and all the things. It's really beautiful to see. And for me personally, as someone who consumes your content, it's very obvious. You can see it shining from you. And I love when you do the posts where you put up a comment about someone, something someone said about you, and you're just going on dancing anyway, smile, and her smile is just bright and big, and it's yeah, and I'm still living my very best life despite this internet troll and what they think of my body and what they think I should be doing instead. So I love that. I would love to know, what was that transition like for you when you really made the discovery that I can do this work and not be thin? What was it, a big light bulb? Was it how did that feel for you? What did it look like when you switched over to that belief?
That is a great question. So it took me until 2021 to get online, despite the fact that I've been dancing for quite a long time, because I saw comments being made of dancers who were much thinner than me, much more conventionally built than I was. And I thought to myself, I could never tolerate people saying those things to me. So when I went online, it was with the conscious choice to say, I know people are going to say these things about me. I'm going to address it right away, because I had to get to the point of not believing those things about myself to be able to say back to those people, I don't think that you're right, and here's why. And, so people have mixed feelings on the clapbacks. It's my favorite pillar of my work. I love doing the clapbacks. It's so fun. It's so empowering. And it's something that I recommend living so boldly that people feel the need to hate you for that. You know, there's nothing better, honestly, than being able to say to them, here's why you're wrong, and I'm going to continue on being magical, and you can continue on being somebody who leaving bad comments.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
We're here for it.
Yeah. I mean, because what you're saying is your projection onto me will not rock who I am.
Yep.
Exactly.
And that is like the most authentic expression of self.
Yeah.
To not allow yourself to be rocked by another person's belief that is really just their ego and their own insecurity and their own bullshit.
Exactly.
Project it onto you. You get to be so secure in you that it becomes irrelevant what other people think. And that is like true liberation and true authentic freedom.
That's how I feel too. And it just, after a few years, you start to realize that all you're doing as a creator is holding up a mirror, and people are shouting at themselves into the mirror you're holding up in front of you. You know, so I got to the point of wanting to empower people who were hearing the same things and who believed like I did that was true, and that meant I didn't deserve to be seen. I wanted to be able to empower people to speak back to these people who are saying these things in our lives, or the voices in our head. And this is the way I got on my own side. I used to have the inner critic saying these things to me, and until somebody else was saying it to me, and I got to say, hey, you know what? I actually don't think that's true. I actually don't think it's true. That's how I got to really believe it on the inside.
Wow. So you're saying you needed other people to say the things that your inner critic was saying in order for you to make the next step.
Yeah.
And taking the stance on, I will not believe that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And there was a bit of fake it till you make it at the beginning, you know, but the thing is that nobody can ever insult me as well as I've insulted myself. No one knows my vulnerabilities the way I do, you know? So when it came to people actually starting to say these things to me, I realized I was on level 100 with insulting myself, and they're on level 2. This isn't threatening at all. And then it starts to, because on the internet, all comments are good comments. They're helping me no matter what. More people will see my video, the more people comment on it. So it just got to be the point of like, thank you. Thank you for, you know, bringing me your insecurities so that I may profit off of yours.
That is so good. Joke's on you, actually.
Exactly. And there's a lot of creators who say, you know, ignore the trolls and I don't believe in that, because I don't think we should let this behavior slide. I think that it sets a bad precedent to say we shouldn't say something to it. And I don't believe that ignoring what's ugly in the world changes it. Let's take it head on. Let's change it.
You know what I love? I got to say something. So on the previous episode, we had a woman talking about how she likes to block people. And block and ignore. Yeah. And you know what I love is that we can like do what we want.
Yeah.
And I think that's highlighting that. Like she felt liberated by blocking. You felt liberated by commenting back.
Yep.
And I think what we're all trying to do, because I'll just speak for myself. What I'm trying to do is like, what's the rules? Like if I don't have to abide by those rules that kept me small, what are the rules here that allow me to be me? And it's like, hello, there are no rules.
Exactly.
Like, I love that you said that, because like, I'm a little bit more on this page. We're like, well, I'd want to say something, right? But I love that, like, that felt good for her, and this feel good for you. And if you're listening to this, there are no rules. And like, I'm saying that really to myself.
Yeah. But I think the distinction is, and what you said, Arielle, it's not to ignore.
Right.
Our previous guest didn't ignore it. She deleted it and she blocked it.
Exactly.
Because letting that live on her page was not okay.
Yeah.
Like that was not okay for her. You know, for you, I'm like you. And I don't always have time. So sometimes I do just block and delete. Like, okay, I'm not going to argue. But sometimes I have times.
Yes.
Okay? And I'm going to use my time. I'm going to reclaim my time. And I'm going to give it to you. And it feels really good. And I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't think that means you haven't healed. I don't think that's not a good idea. I think it's whatever fits you and suits you on that day and in that moment.
I don't know if there's anything more powerful than a liberated woman with some time. Hey, like, I'm waiting on a kiss to get fucked up. I got time.
Oh, this thing. Yep.
Because sometimes people need to be called on their bullshit. That's just the reality. And some of those people that post these nasty, ugly, mean comments have never been called out on their bullshit.
Exactly.
And so it's not our responsibility, right? You don't have to own it and say, this is what I have to do. But if I want to do it, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to give you the best of me doing it because I want to do it. So
Exactly.
sometimes that's enough to like break the conversation or plant the seed, or someone else reading that sees that and they're like, well, damn, like, okay, like she's right. Because when it's unchecked, when it's just like, okay, let them pile up, whatever, I don't see it, I'm above it, I ignore it. And again, if that works for you, that's fine. But those comments live there forever.
Yep.
And other people are seeing that. And to me, it's another form of abuse for others.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I post the bathing suit picture and my stomach isn't flat and my rolls are out and someone says something mean, and then someone who looks like me looks at the comment and it's just there, to me, it's just an insult to them as well. So for me, I'm like, oh, we're gonna talk about this. And here's why. So I love that approach. I think it's very brave. I think it's very bold. And like you said, like at the end of the day, they're helping your account grow. They're helping more people see the work you do.
And you're like, and I think that this is the distinction too about allowing people to do the thing that they need to do, because there might be a day where that takes your peace.
Yep.
And that might be a day where it takes your energy and it's actually draining you. And like, that's giving your power to that and to that person. Or it might be a day where you're like, I got some time. The kids are in their after school activities and I'm available. And then it can empower you. So I think it's, again, this, I want to just be mindful to always, for myself really, even to just be like, do it in the way that feels authentic to you. Do it in the way that doesn't take away your power. Do it in a way where it's not draining you.
Yeah.
You know, exactly.
And that's different from day to day.
Yeah, and it is different from day to day. And sometimes it's a block delete, and sometimes it's like, thank you for the comment. You just grew my channel by... Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. And I think that there's no better place for that than our own social media pages. You know, that's our ground. If ever there was a place to practice, that's the place.
That is the place. Oh, I love it.
I mean, you talk a little bit about, I did have to fake it until I make it, kind of, you know, and I think that I always struggle with that. Like, okay, this is what I believe and this feels authentic to me. And then I get like frozen. How do you get that momentum? How do we inspire people to be them and be unapologetic for that, and to be courageous to know that they are worthy of who they are exactly as they are, and how to go into a world like we talked about in the last episode that was inherently basically not made for most of us,
right?
To go in and to be that. Like, how did you do that?
Well, I think the first thing to know is that it will be a crucible. It will be having to walk through a wall of fire. It will be scary. And I think that the easiest thing is to try to take it a small step at a time, rather than, okay, I'm going to get on social media and immediately be making a ton of videos, or I'm going to go to a very crowded beach in a bikini. Like, so in the case of wearing a swimsuit, maybe wear it around your house first, right? Just put it on. Just walk around your house. Just get comfortable being in it before you go take it out in public. And then maybe you take it out in public and you wear a sarong over for the first time. And then if you feel comfortable, maybe the sarong comes off. And making sure that you are surrounded by people who support you in this. We can't do it alone. It's not possible to do it alone. We need people in our corner saying you are worth all the good things, that you deserve all of the good things, and you deserve to feel comfortable in your body. You deserve to feel at peace. We need that community around us. So I feel like building the community is step one. And then step two is know that it's going to be scary and choose small ways to address that fear first.
Yeah.
So that you can build up to the more scary ones.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said community, because, you know, at WeShape, we're all about community through fitness, through, you know, body liberation, all the things, the podcast. But it's really about letting people know there are people out there that value you and that see you. And it, for some of us, it may not be in our homes, right?
Exactly.
It may not be where we grew up. It may not be the friends we originally selected. So there's no shame in rebuilding that community and that support and establishing new relationships. And if it's online to start, great. And then hopefully you get some people in real life that you can do the beach trip with. But it's really important to find like-minded people that inspire you and encourage you and support you and want to see the real you, the most authentic version of yourself. And I know that's not easy for everyone, but you know, I think the internet, that's one beautiful thing about the internet. You can find your people. It takes a little searching, but you can find your people. So I'm really glad. I started. Yep.
Yeah, the internet, and that is the whole premise behind WeShape. Is here is a community of safe people where there are no shoulds, And there are no, like, we will accept you if. We will align in this toxic narrative. Nope, we're here to be authentically ourselves and to have fun and to move our bodies and to join live calls and to listen to the podcast and to do these things where we can bring proof to everybody that there is a world out there of people who are really available for your authentic self. And
Yes.
come here and start that process here, because you have to have that reinforcement on some level.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you do feel alone, and that isolation makes you want to get that safety that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And so you got to find some people. I love that you bring up the community. I think it is the key and the foundation to building the courage to come out and be yourself.
And you never know, especially because, gosh, I'm 6 years into the body liberation world. You never know who is going to be around you watching your transformation saying, maybe I could have a piece of that for myself. I've definitely had people in my life come on board after seeing what changes I've made, so you never know what impact you can have on others as well.
I love that. Can you talk a little bit about, and this is just selfishly for me, because I really love belly dancing. I always have. I took a class like in my early 20s just once and then never picked it back up, but I've always loved it. Can you talk about like your love and passion for it and how, being and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I really don't think, to me, a lot of the professionals I've seen belly dancing don't have super duper flat stomachs, but I'm sure there are some, and you can maybe, shine a light on that. But how it feels being in that space and doing this beautiful art and this practice and teaching and spreading all the awareness and having a stomach, having a visible stomach that moves when you move. And, I know the comments come, but can you just sort of talk about that journey and that process and what that feels like and looks like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started belly dancing as a teenager, and I was thin as a teenager, like many of us are. But at the same time, I was never hard in the middle. That was never how my body has been shaped. And belly dance, when I started, became the first way that I could relate positively to things moving and jiggling, particularly my stomach on my body. And as I came, so belly dance it's a social dance, right? So in Egyptian belly dance, we have rock sharky, which is when you think of bra and belt and spangly and the glitz and glamour, that's rock sharky. And then you have rocks baladi, which is the style that people do at parties. Just it's a social dance, right? So as a social dance, it's made for all bodies. You don't say, oh, I'm sorry, you don't have a flat enough stomach for the hokey pokey.
Right.
You're going to have to take a seat with those thighs in your cha-cha slide. I'm sorry. We don't say that. So in that aspect, this style of dance is wonderful because it's made to be friendly to a lot of different bodies and it's made to be individual. But then when it comes down to the professional side of things, you really only see one body type. And this is becoming true in Egypt as well, where you see a lot of white dancers who are very slender doing a particular style, which may not necessarily reflect the feeling that's so important to Egyptian dance. Rather, it's more about aesthetic than about feeling. So for me, in my classes and in my studio, it's about, so last night I was talking to my class, I said, let's just enjoy having a torso. Being embodied sucks some of the time. We need something to make up for the diarrhea, okay? This is the moment that makes up for diarrhea and being sick, is we're just going to enjoy having a torso and just wiggling. We were working on body rolls last night, so I was like, just enjoy that feeling. Pretend you're the accordion, you're just in and out. And how often do we have these moments in our day-to-day life of like, oh, it feels pretty great to have a belly. What can I do with it? And that's my favorite part about this dance.
Oh,
Well, I think you're bringing something to light that's really important just about dance in general. It's like, I feel like there's all these rules, quote unquote rules, that have to be like, oh, well, you have to have, be able to move your body in a certain way. You have to like be able to do certain things, look a certain way. It's like all of these rules. And what I love about your work is like, absolutely not true. You're missing out on something that's incredibly fun
Yes.
and incredibly liberating and incredibly enjoyable. And you're basically saying we don't have any rules with this. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to be able to move a certain way. You don't have to have any skill set, like you could just be you and find pleasure and joy in this movement.
Yes.
I think that is like a big takeaway for me, because I was always like, oh, I can't move that way. Like I feel embarrassed. Like,
Yeah.
like when people are like, we're going dancing, I'm like, have a great time. I'm really good at watching. Like, you know, but it's because I have these beliefs of all these rules in my mind that I have to be able to do certain things in order to feel like that would be fun for me.
And then
Exactly.
it's like what you said, it's almost like these beautiful ancient practices get co-opted and it becomes like about what you look like and how professional it can appear. And, you know, just like you said, adding all these rules. And I love one of your recent posts. I think someone wrote in and said that they were on bed rest for a condition. And y'all, she's on the bed showing how you can still do some of these moves. And for me, I am all about inclusive care, inclusive fitness, size, and differing abilities, because people, you know, movement is beautiful. Whatever physical ability you have, if it's wiggling your fingers and toes, movement is beautiful, and it only benefits our body when we're doing it in a way, you know, that feels good and that's authentic and helping us. So just lying down and showing people like you can still wiggle your hips, you can still do body rolls, you can still do glute squeezes. Like that's what I would be doing like with a patient. You know, I would be like, hey, this is what we got, you know, and that's really what WeShape is about. Like level 1 of our exercises you can do from the bed. Like, this is what you got, this is what you got, and this is what we're going to work with. And there's no shame in it. You're not worse off than the person, you know, standing up. This isn't like,
There's no right way.
there's no right way. It's like, this is what's good for your body right now. And tuning into that and doing that thing is what's kind and loving. And that's the only right way to me. Doing what's right for you is right. Doing what's not right for you is not, you know, it's
And
wrong.
I think we think that it's like I feel like we just have this way in our modern day culture of just like ruining everything. We've like ruined everything. It's like we've ruined the joy with movement. We've ruined our joy with food. We've ruined it's like, can we just like pause and like just acknowledge that for a second? That like the whole point of movement is not to be able to then be like, oh, I'm going to sit in shame because the person next to me can do more than I can. And that person looks, why are we just like, it's like we just like want to be miserable all the time. It's like, and it's not our fault. I do think that it's like the culture and the systems, but it's like, I just want us to all pause and remember like life can be enjoyed. And if we're in that space, like I get in that space all the time. It's like, okay, don't criticize yourself for being in that space, but recognize that there are communities of people who can help you come out of that space and learn to come into your body and into a group and into a movement-based practice that is celebrated. Like that is a choice.
It is. It is for sure.
Yeah, it took me all of 25 minutes. But to me, this is a product of colonization, and dance in particular is so colonized. Egyptian dance is very colonized. Even the Western dances we do are very colonized, right? The white supremacy mindset says everything must be conform, everything must be average, everything must be indistinguishable from the rest, right? And especially as a white dancer in an art form that doesn't belong to my culture, I feel like decolonization work is so critical, because that's how we break out of this mindset of it has to look this way. I can only dance because when you say, what does a dancer look like, right? The image in your head is probably of a slender, young, white, able-bodied, cisgendered woman, maybe a man, right? We have this image of it's only dance if it looks like that. But to me, dance is a fundamental part of being human. We can all dance if we want to. And it doesn't matter how much of our skeleton we can move. If we can move a little bit of it, we can dance.
I think that is incredibly valuable information, because you're digging at the root of it all.
Yeah.
And I'm a root person. I'm like, where does this come from? Why does it exist? And how do we stop participating in it? Well, to me, the best way to really stop participating is to understand where it comes from and how harmful it is.
Yep.
So I really appreciate you highlighting that and just bringing that to light, because we do take, you know, something that could be so connecting and authentic and such a human experience, and we completely destroy it. And it's just so sad.
Yeah, we're thinking about competition and comparisons and, you know, weight loss. And it's like, just, you know, to your point of, you know, some of the comments where people are like, how can you dance as much as you do? And, your body doesn't change significantly. And I know that took you through a journey. Can you share, like, I guess maybe what you learned about your body, about bodies in general, when you sort of, unlearned some things and did the work around that so that you can now have the joy in your movement and share it with the world?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the first things I learned is that society lies to us about what exercise does for our weight. Exercise is wonderful for health.
Yeah, please say that again.
Yeah, I know you guys are on the same page as me with this. Is we have been lied to. Exercise is so good for your health. There's so many wonderful benefits, but changing your body composition, like weight level, is just not really one of them. It's just not really one of them. It does a lot of other things, but the way that our body regulates weight, there's so many complex things that go into, so many mechanisms that go into why we weigh the way that we do. And it's just, some people are just fat. That's what I learned. Some people are just fat. Some people are just fat in the middle. That's me. And in the same way that we can believe that some people are naturally tall and some people are short and some people are thin, some people are just fat.
Yes.
That's all there is. So now I just tell people, because I had somebody leave a comment, she says, how do you still have so much stubborn fat? And that's what I said. I said, I'm stubbornly fat. I'm absolutely fat.
I am stubbornly fat. I love that.
I've talked about this before, but the idea that 8 billion people exist and there all should be one body type, like, can we just have logic come in there and say that, like, that does sound crazy, right? Like, that's
Exactly.
not, like, that's insane.
Yeah. That's why the whole idea of the BMI and this scale and this goal for average is so stupid. It makes no sense. And we know the BMI was based on the bodies of European men in the 1800s. So why are we using it ever at all, especially in a medical practice or insurance systems? But you're right. There's so much variety in people, in shades, colors, hair lengths, textures, shoe size. Like, we don't wrap our feet, well, not in the U.S., we don't wrap our feet to try to make them 3 sizes smaller because we need them to shrink and we want to fit these really cute shoes. That's my shoe size is my shoe
But
size.
here's the thing, is if you were born in a culture that told you to do that,
You would do
it and you would believe it's okay.
Yeah.
So it's not any different with body sizes.
Very true.
And then so it's like having people wake up to that idea is like you do that and you believe that because you were told that, not because it's true.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not because it's true.
You
And then-
lied to.
Yeah. And so like I've had this even discussion recently, like tell me a disease that exists in a fat body that doesn't exist in a thin body.
There are 0.
There are none. Please Google.
Yeah, there are 0, which is why the whole concept of obesity, this could be a soapbox, so I'll keep it short.
You don't got to keep it short.
But the whole idea of obesity being, prescribed as a condition, a disease, is so stupid because there are no defining characteristics. And for anybody who cares to just do a little Google search and check a few sources, reputable ones, you'll know that the research team put on determining if obesity should be a thing came back with a recommendation of no. They said no.
Because it doesn't fit the model of a disease.
It doesn't fit the model of a disease. But the board decided, yes. It doesn't matter what you researched this. We told you to research this. We're on the same team.
Did the board own the fitness industry?
Well, it's American. It's the medical association.
I'm just saying. So like they're like, oh, we're gonna lose billions. You got to say it does.
Well, no, right. So that's the thing. Many of the medical professionals or the physicians that are on this board in this organization receive financial gain from fitness industry, from the weight loss medications, from all of that. And so they did not take the recommendation of the team, and they said, we're going to make it a disease. And it was just kind of like, and nobody understood it. And then it became very clear why it happened. So when you know the root of this idea that body weight is a problem, a symptom of a real issue, a disease, you know that it really has nothing to do with anyone's health or their fitness or their wellness. It's really about money. The whole system, the BMI, it's about money. Money, money, money. If we create disease, we create solutions for disease that cost money, and then they make money.
And they make so much money.
So much money.
Yeah.
I mean, there's weight loss drugs right now people can't get. some of them are for like medical conditions like diabetes. People with diabetes can't access them because everyone's using them to lose weight. And let me just say this caveat. This is to spread no judgment to anyone who is utilizing weight loss drugs, diets, anything, whatever you think is best for you in this moment. I believe in your autonomy to make that choice. But I'm just saying that there's an epidemic of sorts as it relates to these medications and this, designating obesity as a disease. It's much deeper than what it looks like on the surface. But it's so believed in our culture that it's like, well, listen, obesity kills people. What are you doing? You shouldn't be fat. You should be working triple time to not be fat. And what people don't realize is working to not be fat does the absolute opposite to your health. It doesn't improve it. It just makes it worse. Yeah. So you could just exist and be fat and live your life and love your life and be fine. Or you can like spend your whole life and energy trying to not be fat and probably end up much less healthy and much less happy for sure. Because I lived that way for like 20 years.
Definitely much less happy.
So,
I mean, yeah. I think that, but it's really hard to have people even see that they're in that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that that's what's so tricky. But I think people are coming out. When we first started WeShape, I've said this before, I had this one guy tell me, you'll never be able to sell that. And I was like, oh, thanks for saying that.
Now I'm going to.
You don't know that I'm a double Taurus, stubborn bull. Like, appreciate that. Thanks for that fire and fuel. But I mean, it's because it is like, I'm trying to bring consciousness to something that's unconscious. And so when we're unconscious, we're not even aware that we're making choices that inflict self-harm. And that's why I think like doing work on ourselves and creating mindfulness and consciousness is the most truest form of authentic power, because that's when we can get out of the passenger seat and get into the driver's seat and say, my validation comes from me. My self-fulfillment and value and worth come from me, and it's not defined by somebody else driving the car on the road they think I should be going down. Yes. It's me getting in the driver's seat and like coming to a complete halt on the brakes and saying, wait, which path am I going down and which one is me? And we're all going to have to navigate these windy roads. Like, this is just being a human being, but I'm still committed. And I, again, want to speak to, like, I'm so grateful, like, even just to, like, know Lisa and her, like, she has been in this world a lot, like, longer than I have. And I was, like, so discouraged just to have this company and be like, oh, man, no one's going to care about this. And she's like, oh, no, Katie, I have a lot of people who care about this. I'm like, you do? And so it's just, like, coming together and finding your people, going back to the community piece, finding your people and knowing that if you don't feel right about something, or you're feeling shame or guilt or like small, or like, you know what I mean? Like, you're just feeling like, like I can't fit in, that it's not you, it's them. Always. Yeah. It's not you, it's them. That's what we'll call this episode.
Not you, it's them.
Like, it is. It's not you. Like, we're not inherently meant to hate ourselves. Like, we were not born doing that.
No.
We were taught those things. So if you feel uncomfortable with you, that is like probably a community problem, not like you need to conform so that you feel that way. You actually don't need to do anything in order to feel that way, maybe except change the people that you're hanging out with.
That part.
Right. Yep, exactly.
Retirement. I love it.
Oh, man. Well, this has been such a wonderful conversation, and I just so appreciate the work that you do, because it gives people permission to be them. And that is just some of the best work I think that can be done in this world. So let people know where they can find you and see all your amazing videos.
That sounds great. I am on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Madison Dance Life, and that is also where you can find me for my website, which is www.madisondancelife.com.
I love that. I'm so glad you told everyone you're in Madison, Wisconsin, because I wanted to just call you Madison like the whole time.
Yes. Everybody does that. I get that a lot.
It's like, that is not my name. That is beautiful. Y'all definitely check out her content. Check out her page. The classes are beautiful. Everything that you put out there, it's just, it's beautiful. So I'm so grateful for that, the work that you're doing, for sure.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm just about to go shoot some more content.
Yay. Good stuff.
Thank you again. And thank you, everyone, for listening. We will catch you next week.